Hey everybody, welcome back to Balancing Divine Feminine Ascension Frequencies with Ari Jade. So, I want to talk to you today about what all is going on. Today is Monday, June 29th, 2026. We have had 4 big earthquakes around the 7 on the Richter scale in Venezuela and where's the other? Indonesia and Japan, right? So that's going on. We've got the wildfires. Of course, they always happen out west, but they really seem to be centering around Sedona. I haven't heard from Ishmael Perez today, but the last video that I watched of his, the fires were coming in, and he was saying something to the effect of there were tunnels there, possibly where kids, had been being taken, and they thought maybe that's why the fires were making a pocket around there. So many crazy things going on, surfacing like they're supposed to, and the purge, the cleanse, everybody knows that that's what we are going through right now. We're living our lives and dealing with Mother Nature like we have in the 3D world instead of in a spiritual way putting her first in a sustainable system of working together. We forgot that. And just like the Hopi Indians said, there would be 8 generations to go through and cycle through before we woke back up from this terrible, crazy dream that we've been living and realized we can't make it without our planet. That's where our freaking food comes from. Did these idiots think that that dirt they were poisoning in Anniston, Alabama at Monsanto was just going to stay there? Those people traveled and anyway, different. I could stay on a soapbox with that, but we've came to a time to where we realize the wrong that was done. In the 1940s, Spirit took me into teaching physical science so that I could learn all these things to tell you guys in a way that would make sense to you, right? So my younger sister never got into school because nobody could tell her things the way that she could understand them. They didn't speak her language, and my little brother was kind of the same way. He was identified as learning disabled, is what they called it back in the day. And all it was the fact that the IQ, the computer brain, functions in one way, right? That is totally the left brain. It's your computer. But then some people are right-brained. They are better in fixing things with their hands, creating, art, and passion is there. Left-brained people, nope, saying it backwards again, right-brained people are extremely passionate when they find what it is that they love to do. I'll never forget when I first started teaching, I had moms come in and say, he's been diagnosed ADHD. They say he can't pay attention, but yet he can stay on that game for hours on end. Well, I'm ADHD too. I think most all of us are. But we can, once we find where our passion, where our heart is, we can stay there. We can dig deep. That's our specialty. I really think that's our gifting. Because if you'll notice, ADHD people are the people that stuck out in that class because they were rebelling. We didn't want to sit still in a chair. I still don't. I chew the inside of my mouth when I'm driving, or I'm twirling my hair. Even though something's happening, my physical body had rather be in a state of motion, right? Newton's first law of inertia. A body at rest wants to stay at rest. So when you're stuck in that cubicle, or you're stuck at that job where you're sitting in front of a blue light screen and you don't feel good, my baby, who lives in the basement playing those video games, is having headaches now. Well, it could be the basement, could be the fact that he doesn't eat great, but it's probably the fact that he stays on that game. That's his life, that's his world, and that's fine. I know it looks like an amazing place to be, but the real world is out here. It's not inside. It's not in front of a screen. And we have got to come back into balance with that. So a lot of what they're controlling us with at this moment in time has to do with the Spielberg movie, right? They think that they are just now letting people know that there's aliens on our planet. And my dad started telling me this stuff when I was young, and I thought, yeah, right, you're nuts. Well, older I got, more logical minded that I got, the more that I realized, mathematically speaking, it would be stupid for us to think that that's not a very big possibility, and an even bigger possibility that they would be older, much older than us. Because think about this. Light started traveling at the speed of light as soon as the Creator, Source, God said, light be. And ever since it's been being created, it's been opening more big bangs, more universes, more galaxies, more stars, more planets. And we just happened in a series of all of this. It wasn't just us. How narcissistic of us to think, you know? What is that Dr. Seuss movie? Horton's Got a Who? And these people think that they're the only ones, and they're listening and looking down into this little flower, and everything just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Well, that's how this is. It not only gets smaller and smaller and smaller in one direction, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger in another. We've got to come to the realization of that, and we've got to get back outside in it. We are of this planet. So if we want to be healthy, we got to get our butts outside and get in it. But back to today. So CERN, which is a science laboratory in Switzerland that has been operating since 2008. They have a hadron particle collider, which has 17 miles of tunnels underground that are kept colder than the coldest part of space. They have 2 of these particle colliders aimed at each other, shooting protons at this great distance in this cold space. And word is that they figured out how to open time. That's why all of this mess has been happening with like the what ended up being called, what's his name? The effect. The Mandela. It was the Mandela effect. It started because it was an effect that was like a mandala. As it opened up, it just created more. But then they started calling it the Mandela effect because some people remembered Nelson Mandela dying in prison and some people didn't, right? That timeline completely got changed. and then all the other little things that go with it. What we're seeing is that it's not jiving, and there's got to be something that's totally possible that's above our heads, that we are just now getting to a level with the thanks of AI and computers to understanding how many things are possible that we just didn't realize were. And just like I tell my kids in school, we've been taught to be fearful of all these symbols because we don't know what they mean, because they've been demonized. So just like, and I'm going to get back to CERN, I promise, just like this movie that Spielberg has released about the aliens, so back to that, the symbology of that, from what I understand, is a one-eyed stag, a one-eyed deer. So they're trying to make it look, and I've not seen the movie, like either these aliens have mutated the deer or something. But it ends up being very, just a symbol to make us fearful. So if you look back, the goat was so revered in the home. It was a home piece. The people herded the goats, right? They took care of the goats. They were a part of the everyday life. Then they would later kill the goats, eat the goats, use all type of goat skin, milk. Well, they demonized the goat. What do you think about when you think about a goat now? Or if you see something like that in the woods, you think it's some kind of demon ritual. When that was just something that the church did because they needed ways to get fear in our minds so that we would need them, so that we would need something outside of us for comfort. But those days are over. We now, especially the younger generation, realize we don't need an outside source to give us permission to forgive ourselves. If you guys can't see her, this is Lady Lilith. Move, wrong way, wrong way. She's not feeling good today, so she is in my lap. But they are trying to create fear through this stag. The goat head was demonized. This snake, when people see this snake around my neck, I show it to you all the time, on my arm, this is a symbol of balance, of energy, of power and strength. It's the masculine and feminine in perfect harmony. And people just automatically assume it means something bad, And that's what's been passed down to make us fearful of just symbols of animals. All right, so back to CERN. They've shut down for upgrades. They'll be closed for 4 years. During this time, we will be more able to get our fears under control. It will I just feel like there's going to be a definite difference. If you can't tell the difference in how you were, if you didn't go, I went through a huge life change in 2008, now that I think back about it. Huge. Like, the divorce really came up. My ex cheated in 2004, and I should have left then. But you want to stay for the kids, and you want to make it work no matter what, and you think you'll be the one that can actually do it. Wrong. But went through a big divorce, lost everything I had to come back to Alabama, tail tucked in between my legs, and redo it all again. And when you get it back again, you're more appreciative of it, no matter how little it is. What we have around here is not a lot compared to a lot of people, but I really do appreciate it since I've lost what I had. But it was all because I knew Spirit had called me, and I'd said, just let me go through my life. I knew from the time I was a little bitty kid and was reading the Bible, I could feel it. When I would read Revelations, I would have to talk myself down from knowing that I was going to live through those times and being terrified. And I wish I'd had somebody like me that really, really read it to the point where they understood it themselves and could have told me it's not going to be the end of time. You know, it's not going to be a splitting in two of the planet to where Jesus comes down from the heavens and picks some and throws some butts to the curbs. You know, it's just, it means we're going to realize we can't live the way we've been living because we've been commercialized and lied to. We've really been made fools of, and we've blindly followed. You know, medicine split, and they made the people that were selling herbs and candles and oils to look like quacks when they were poisoning us and getting us addicted so they could get our money every month. On every level, just about, I don't trust what I've grown up in anymore. I don't trust the monetary system. You know, we've diversified. I say I've diversified some of our money. I don't have a lot in silver and gold, but I've got some just because we don't know what's about to happen. But this CERN particle collider came on in 2008, and it has changed things. And people have let's see. So just like they've done with the cross, more of the demonization, which was elemental about the directions. It was the tree of life, and now it symbolizes death. So we've been given a filter, an inverted version of what our reality is supposed to be like. That's why they've said that what is the word for the earth in the dream state? All my little girls have a version of this name, and it's just not coming to me right now. I can't believe this. It's not Gaia. It's not Ava. It'll come to me in a minute. Maya, the dream, right? And we've been going through, like I tell you guys, the Kali Yuga, the struggle time, the Iron Age, okay? But we needed that to be appreciative of the time that's coming. So they've been using fear to keep us down, and that's kept our vibration low. If you've not seen Mateus DeStefano's video on magnesium, day 10, watch that. He goes into way more detail than what most anybody can. If you don't know who Mateus is, he remembers his past lives, days of Atlantis. He has footage, or he has a show, I guess you'd say, on Gaia TV. He's amazing. He takes people to the pyramids and the things that come through. You know, we are just an antenna. That's what our spinal cord is. You know, all those nerves that run into every bit of your body feel energy. They feel radiation that comes in around you. right? And they can pick up on frequencies. This is just, some of those frequencies eventually turn into sound, right? And some turn into things we can see, but not much. We can only see 0.0035% of what is actually out here. So there's no telling what's going on. Like, you know what a green screen does? If you wear green, it makes it, you blend in with the screen so it looks like you're not there. Well, just think about the fact that, what if something had the frequency of blue? Couldn't it just blend in with the sky? Couldn't there be fleets of things up in our skies, Supposedly there's things above us, and there's also things below us. Supposedly there are other civilizations that live within our planet. And we got derailed because school teaches us nothing about any of this. We had thick traditions that were being passed down orally, and school disrupted this. They came in and I'm a teacher, but the organization, the state, the people that ran the indigenous off of this land, disrupted our lives with our families. I think we're going to go back to like a small community school, and less kids don't need to be in school all day. They need to be out here in this. And if now they're going to have to go somewhere to stay, we should have them out in this. That's what I plan to do more of this school year with my kids, because the only way to balance all of this bombardment of radiation that we're receiving is to get out here in it, to get your hands in it, to paint the canvas of your yard through your flowers, to listen to the birds again, to feel the water, to feel the air on your skin. And it's so restrictive. There's nowhere that you can really go naked anywhere that I know of in America, unless, of course, you got lots of land and nobody's going to see you. There's times to where I have, because nature bathing in as little clothing as possible, but you want to make sure, sorry, that your clothing is as natural as it can possibly be. No polyester. That's essentially plastic. And cheap clothing, a lot of the, what is it? Is it Shein? I don't think Shein's that cheap. It may be. But just cotton, linen, wool, and you can do like a poly blend. Cotton, 100% cotton is heavy. So, but anyway, so jumping back to that one-eyed deer, the Norse god Odin gave up an eye. Horus, the god that gave up an eye during the War of Darkness and Light, you'll see his eye on things protective, guarding. I have eyes on my tree, which I call my totem pole, which is Roth, out in front of the house. But we've got to look at this one-eyed deer for what it really is. And getting back to Mateus, he's actually born on an island that in Spanish is this word, and it means literally one-eyed deer. So it's cool how, like I tell the kids at school, magic is just technology. And as the technology opens, the potentials just flood like crazy. So they make things that weren't possible before possible now, because everything is impossible until it's not, right? And it's been inverse universe is what it has been. And it's supposed to be turning back over into the Satya Yuga, the golden age, the better times, the easier times, the higher frequencies. Any which way you need to put that, that's the days that we are looking forward to now. All right, so yeah. When you listen to Matthias, he goes through and explains how ion is Greek for movement. So in science, when you gain or lose an electron, the element becomes called an ion, I-O-N. So you give or receive an electron to get your balance back, right? So the symbol of having one eye means you gave up something in order to be able to receive from others to create a link. That's what I was saying again. I realized in teaching science, something changed in the 1940s. So Spirit literally opened the door for me to, I didn't teach science. I taught special ed. Something comes and just says, it just made sense because Alabama, what they needed was science and middle school science and math teachers. So I took the test. I failed the math by 5 points, and I passed the science. I'm going to catch my breath. So I got hired for physical science. So like I was saying earlier, you go through, you have to learn all these things. Spirit was opening the exact door that I needed to be able to explain all of this. So in learning about the electromagnetic spectrum, in learning about Nikola Tesla, in learning about the things that are physical science, these are very real concepts that we all need to be knowledgeable on at this point in time. Okay. The man-made element was number 43. That was in 1937. So from what I understand, 96 elements are naturally occurring. It made me wonder, how is technetium, number 43, considered man-made if it's before 96? It had been natural, but was no longer because its isotopes would decay very, very rapidly. So it went away very fast. So it's not really man-made. It's more like man-remade. Okay? But that's where we started messing around with the elements. So this technetium was later synthesized into berkelium, which is number 97. That is also when we were able to travel faster than the speed of sound. Okay? That's important. Because once someone can travel faster than the speed of sound, they can change time as one knows it. The thing is, and they have been changing time ever so slightly. But the thing is, they've only been able to go in one direction, and that's past. One thing I have started hearing now that I can't believe, and I'm sure will become mainstream, and I guess it's true, I don't know, was that we really didn't win World War II. That is when, and I know it's when all of the German scientists came over. That's when Alabama got Werner von Braun, right? And we built NASA there and the Space and Rocket Center, but they also put the chemical companies. They decided to kill us from the inside out. And that's what's happening right now. Our dirt was poisoned, our waterways, our minds. They've been bombarding bodies in the name of the C word with chemo and radiation. If you really think about it and you look at what all happened when the Food and Drug Administration became a thing, it's getting to the point to where we're not going to trust medicines or foods, and it's going to be a good thing. That's just around the corner, because the closer the relationship, biologically, between you and the food that you eat, the more energy that is in coherence between you and that food. So it is your health. Just like when you play the game, right? You've got to get the little jewels, you've got to get the little hearts, whatever little symbol is, to keep health. It's the same way. We've not been eating high vibrational foods. We've forgotten. We've forgotten about frequency. We have forgotten about coherence. We've forgotten. It's because they manipulated our time. Those of us who had a good relationship with the plants know which ones are edible versus, need to be done a special way to be able to be taken. Or it's hard because the time is taken away. So we're coming back somehow. I don't know that it's going to be easy, but AI is supposed to free us within the next 5 years. And electricity is supposed to become, if not free, much cheaper very soon, from what I understand. Like maybe by the end of the summer. Bitcoin, which I know people have put their little bits into, but it's supposed to double, which will pull a lot of people up. But there's supposed to be a total dump. You can see her limping. She don't feel good at all. She hurt her shoulder 2 days ago. But anyway, life is changing, and it's changing rapidly. It's very important to stay grounded, to get outside in nature, get under a tree, hug a tree. It is biologically proven to help mood, energy, and the overall ability to fight off different viruses and bacteria, things like that. I don't know the right words to say, but they say when you sit on the roots of the tree and the symbiosis happens, what you breathe out, the tree takes in, and what the tree puts out, you pull in. That symbiosis is calming down your heart rate, is balancing out your nervous system. That tree has stood there, moving very little, for a very long time. It would love to hold you in its steadiness, in its rhythm, and you can get into coherence, and you can build a relationship with that tree. The trees that are here, my 12 oaks, are the protection around my home. And I do believe, with everything inside of me, I started talking to them in the 90s when I had therapy. And I was in those young working years that are stressful at first when you're not used to putting that much on your body, and on your mind. And then when you build a family, it just feels like this isn't right. Unless you've connected with exactly the right person, and that's something else I want to talk to you guys about. Drew is supposed to be coming, and we're going to start talking to you about relationships and how when you know. There's definitely a certain pull between you and another person that should be so grounding and so solid that there's just a knowing like you've never felt. We were talking about it the other night. When you feel that, there are no what ifs. There are no cheating outside the relationship. There's no gray, there's no room for that. I mean, unless it was okay with that other person, and that would be a different story. But, you know what I mean. I don't think kids now are getting to see many, I don't want to say healthy, but good relationships where the partners are actually partnering and enjoying each other. Partnering. The help is a little off-sided, but that's another conversation. But anyway, look for the symbols. Know that they're there. And don't be afraid. Whenever you feel that fear coming over, false evidence appearing real. That's what you've got to remember. Remember your breath. Remember that connecting your two hands connects the circuit of you. You are an electrical circuit. You also carry a huge load of magnetism. You have a positive side, a sun, solar, masculine, and a negative side, lunar, feminine, right? Connecting the two at the heart space achieves a coherence, sets out a frequency of letting the world know, not really the world, but the world of energy, know that you are okay in your own skin, that you are thankful for this moment that you've been given to still be here in the suit, playing the game, because this is the game of your life. You are the avatar, you are the creator, you are the dreamer. And whatever it is that you can imagine is possible for you. Getting rid of those self-doubts, you're not going to do that. They're going to be there. So you might as well take the jump anyway. Stay balanced and know that you can. Because you can. Till next time, much love.